Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today is July 23rd, 2018. You are at a general city commission meeting. We have several people out tonight. Sitting in for the city manager is our finance director, Dallas Lee. Of course, we all know city attorney. The mayor is out, and Matt Hersom is out as well, as some of our directors of staff are not here either. But they do not have anything pressing on the agenda tonight. I'll go ahead and read through the agenda real briefly and then entertain a motion. Number one is call to order, approval of the agenda, invocation, Pledge of Allegiance presentations. We have one on the docket for fair housing information. Who's giving that presentation? Is that person here? Scott? Okay. Let me write that down. Citizens' announcements. Then we have the consent agenda, 4 items. Public hearings. There's a second public hearing to consider applying for a small cities community development block grant. And who's doing that one?
I'm going to introduce our consultant.
Okay, same? Okay. And followed by 2 quasi-judicial hearings regarding future land use changes. Concluding with 4 agenda items, Resolution 2018-23, Charter Review Committee, Newberry Corners, plat approval, after-school lease agreement, and a resolution for the preliminary millage rate. Then comments and meeting agenda.
Mayor, should the after-school program lease agreement be gone over with a full house?
We can just see how muddy it gets first. I mean, it's only Matt's the only one that's not here. Travis is pretty capable. You're presenting, I assume, Travis? Okay. Any changes to the agenda?
Second.
Commissioner Glanzer has made the motion. Commissioner Coleman has seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. The motion passes. Please rise. Pastor Jess from the Newberry Church of Christ will give our invocation, and please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance following that.
Dear Almighty God, we come before you now as citizens of this great community, but also as servants of thine. We pray that you would look down upon this meeting, look down upon this town. Help us as leaders and members of this town to always look towards you, to love one another. Help us to work together as a city, that we might love one another, that we might prosper, and that we might act in a way that would be fitting to be called your children. We pray now that you would be with the continuation of this meeting and help us, we asked. We asked all of this and give thanks for all that we have in your Son, Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Fantastic. Thank you, Pastor Carter. And Pastor Carter, before you leave, I just wanted to mention that we certainly appreciate all the work that you did recently at church, giving away all those backpacks for the school programs. Your church and many of the churches in our community are kind of like the anchors for us, so we certainly appreciate everything that you do. Thank you.
Thanks for all the help that people give.
Okay. All right. So our first item is presentations, and that will be from Scott. Wendy, you're going to do the introductions, or?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, Wendy Kinzer with the Planning Department. Scott Modisett, our consultant for the Community Development Block Grant Program and grants of that nature, is here tonight to do a fair housing informational meeting for you, to give you some information to share with you and take any questions and as well from the public. And you have some handouts that were provided you and I'm going to turn it over to Scott. He is, it's right behind me, Scott Modisett from Summit Professionals. Many years of experience, and he's worked over 20 years here with the city doing the grants. So here he is.
Thank you, Wendy. Mr. Martin, members of the commission, my name is Scott Modisett. I'm with Summit Professional Services. The city's in the process of applying for a community development block grant. As part of that process, you get additional points in your application for conducting certain fair housing activities. So I'm here tonight. This is an advertised presentation for members of the public and the elected officials. I'm going to just go briefly through what's covered under the Fair Housing Act, and if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them this evening. In the sale and rental of housing, it's prohibited for anyone to take the following actions based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, familial status, or handicap: to refuse to rent or sell housing, to refuse to negotiate for housing, to make to make housing unavailable, to deny a dwelling, to set different terms, conditions, or privileges for sale or rental of a dwelling, to provide different housing services or facilities, to falsely deny that housing is available for inspection, sale, or rental, for profit to persuade owners to sell or rent, or to deny anyone access to or membership to a facility or service related to the sale of or rental of housing. In mortgage lending, it is also illegal to refuse to make a mortgage loan, to refuse to provide information regarding loans, to impose different terms or conditions on a loan, such as different interest rates, points, or fees, to discriminate in property appraising, to refuse to purchase a loan, or to set different terms or conditions for purchasing a loan based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, familial status, or handicap. In addition, it is illegal for anyone to threaten, coerce, intimidate, or interfere with anyone exercising a fair housing right or assisting others with exercising their fair housing rights, to advertise or make any statement that indicates a limitation or preference based on color, race, national origin, religion, sex, familial status, or handicap. This prohibition against discriminatory advertising applies to single-family and owner-occupied housing that is otherwise exempt from the Fair Housing Act. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, that would conclude the presentation.
Scott, you've got like 14 more minutes left on your time.
I hope I'm efficient
Good.
and wrap that up quickly.
No, understandably, it's pretty straightforward. It's been in place for a while, but certainly, does anybody on the dais have any questions? Commissioner Coleman?
Yeah, I mean, after that, you sound like a mortgage broker. Can you fill out a good faith estimate for me on?
No, sir, I cannot.
Okay.
That would be a conflict of interest. I appreciate that.
Does anybody from the public have any questions or comments? Okay. All right, seeing none, thank you very much. Scott, was there anything else?
Thank you. Oh, the city maintains contact information for anyone feeling that they may have been discriminated against in housing. There are a number of ways that an individual could report discriminatory practices, and there's contact information on the city's website.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving right along, citizens' announcements. I had one from Marlon Day via text earlier. Says he will be hosting an author on August 30th. This gentleman, Jack Davis, is a Pulitzer Prize winner, professor at the University of Florida. His book, The Gulf, The Making of an American Sea, is terrific, apparently, per Marlon's endorsement. And Marlon says it is the best history book he has read since Team of Rivals. The program will be Thursday, August 30th at 6 p.m. over at the library. And get more information on the website if needed. Don't everybody rush to the microphone. Seeing none. Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda, there's 4 items I read earlier. I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Second.
Commissioner Coleman made the motion. Commissioner Glanzer seconded the motion. Moving the approval of the consent agenda. Any discussion from the dais? Any from the public? Seeing none. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it, unanimous. Moving on to public hearings and ordinances. We are up for second public reading, public hearing to consider applying for a small cities community development block grant. Mr. Attorney, you want to read the resolution while Ms. Wendy is on her way up here?
Happy to do that. Be opening my computer, hopefully quickly. Thank you. Lot quicker.
Good old paper.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, this is resolution number 2018-26, a resolution of the City Commission of Newberry, Florida, authorizing the chief elected official to make application to the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity for approval of the city's FFY 2017 Community Development Block Grant in the Housing Rehabilitation category. Adopting the city's comprehensive plan as the city's community development plan, providing an effective date, and for other purposes. The appropriate motion is to pass resolution number 2018-26 as read by title only, and that will place the measure on the floor for further discussion.
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Farnsworth made the motion, put it on the floor. Commissioner Coleman has seconded it. We'll just move right to Ms. Wendy. You have the floor.
Mr. Chair, this is your second public hearing on your community development block grant application. You considered different types of applications at your last hearing on July 9th, and tonight you'll have your second. And Scott Modisett, our consultant dealing with the community development block grant program, will present to you our application and fill you in on the rest of the process. Thank you.
Super, thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Again, I'm Scott Modisett with Summit Professional Services. As Wendy stated, this is the second public hearing that's required for the city to apply for a community development block grant. At the first public hearing, the decision was made to select a housing rehabilitation grant application. We've drafted that application, and it should be in your packets this evening. The CDBG program must meet one of three national objectives: to benefit low and moderate income households, to eliminate slum and blight, or to address other urgent community development needs. This grant application will meet the first requirement in that it will provide health, safety, or code corrections for low-income homeowners within the jurisdiction of the city of Newberry. When do you want to? Oh. I think I just kind of went through everything. Applications are due August 13th, and you have before you for your consideration a resolution that would allow the mayor to sign the application and submit it to DEO. That's the Department of Economic Opportunity, is the agency that administers these grants. This grant category that has been selected, as I mentioned, will provide for health, safety, and code corrections for low-income, owner-occupied homes within the jurisdiction of the city of Newberry. If the grant is funded, there will be an internal application process, including a homeowner meeting, where individuals will submit applications to the city, and those will be reviewed by our firm or to make sure that they meet the qualifications. Typically, the funds are targeted towards low-income, extremely low-income, and very low-income households, senior citizens with disability. And we verified that through third-party verification. If an individual, for instance, claims a disability, we would require a certified letter from their doctor indicating what their handicap would be.
Commissioner Coleman.
Is it an actual contractor that actually goes out and looks at it, or is it like a building inspector that will go look at the houses on it?
It would be a third-party building inspector that would go out. Typically, the way the program works, it would start with a interview with the homeowner where they would identify what issues they're aware of with their home, and then an inspector would then go into the home, crawl through the attic, crawl through the crawl space, and do a complete work write-up of the home. I'm glad that you asked that question, because it's important to note that we can't pick and choose what work items are done on the home. Once a home is selected for the program, any health, safety, or code issues that are identified have to be corrected through the program. So we can't go in if the homeowner says, I don't want my windows done, I just want my roof completed. We can't pick and choose work items from the homeowner. It's a $700,000 grant. It would not require any matching funds from the local government, from the city of Newberry. At a minimum, 10 low to moderate income homes, of which 3 will be very low income and 2 will be extremely low income. That's a requirement of the program. Will be corrected through this program. The 10 is a minimum. It will depend on how many or how cost effective we can be with the homes. In the case that the cost of a home would exceed repair, if the repair of a home would exceed demolition and replacement, the program will actually demolish the home and build a new home on site. If we have a lot of those, that can eat up the money pretty quick. But we would select homes with the idea that we would do a minimum of 10, probably 10 to 14 homes would be corrected through the program. The program also allows for temporary relocation for the home owner. If the repairs are so extensive that they have to move out, there's some money that would allow them to store their property. It also provides for a moving allowance. Typically, we would try to get them to stay with a family member. If not, the city has at your discretion to provide assistance for them for temporary housing. And then there's also administrative costs, which pay for the environmental reviews on each home that are done, and also for all of the vetting of the applicants, and then the construction management.
That's very good. Commissioner Glanzer had a question.
Do mobile homes
Okay.
qualify? Would a mobile home?
I need to look at your HAP plan. You have at your discretion as the city commission to select that. I can't remember. Your HAP plan was adopted in I believe it was 2016. Oh, I'm sorry. Your housing assistance plan. The city has adopted a housing assistance plan that covers all of the details on how homeowners are selected and how contractors are selected. And I can get that document to you. It's part of the public record. I'm sorry?
It would be our decision whether or not to include mobile homes in
Yes.
the program? Okay.
Yes. The main issue with mobile homes is that we cannot repair those. And the cost standards, basically you have to replace a mobile home. So local governments it's a balance on whether you want to include those in your program.
Fair enough. Any other questions? Any questions from the public or comments? Seeing none, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Were you finished too?
No, I was finished. Thank you,
Okay.
Commissioner Martin. Thank you.
All right. Excuse me.
I'm done if you're done.
Okay. And we had a motion on the floor from before? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank
Looks
you,
like a
Scott.
very competitive application. I look forward to working with the city.
Super, super. All right. Those ever favor quasi-judicial public hearings? Scott, you ready over there? Ready. Okay. Judy, you ready? Okay. All right, I'm going to go through the reading the procedure. All public testimony will be taken under oath. Everyone testifying will be subject to cross-examination. All documents and exhibits shall be entered into evidence. The giving of opinion testimony is limited to experts only, and closing arguments will be limited to the evidence of record. Procedure will follow this evening will be, number one, first we'll hear from the applicant, followed by the applicant, then will be subject to cross-examination. The staff will enter its report. The applicant will have an opportunity for any rebuttal and into the record and answer any of those questions. Then the floor will be open for public comment, limited to 5 minutes only. Members of the public will have an opportunity to question the applicant or staff, followed by the applicant having an opportunity for any closing arguments if they wish, and then we'll have the public hearing closed for the commission to enter into its deliberations. Mr. Attorney, would you please read in the ordinance that we have first here?
I'm happy to do so, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. This is ordinance number 2018-11, an ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida, amending ordinance number 4-91 as amended, relating to an amendment to the future land use plan map of the City of Newberry Comprehensive Plan of 10 or less acres of land under the small-scale development amendment procedures established under the small-scale amendment provisions of Section 163.3187 of the Florida statutes as amended, providing for a change in land use classification from Alachua County rural/agriculture less than or equal to one dwelling unit per 5 acres to City of Newberry agriculture less than or equal to one dwelling unit per 5 acres on certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Newberry, Florida, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2018-11 as read by title only, and that'll place the measure on the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. Is Mr. Husavit here? Right? Okay, that's what I thought.
Mr. Chair, this is an application by the City of Newberry, and both applicants are present.
Fair enough. Commissioner
Just
Glanzer,
a-
before we get started?
Excuse me, the attorney quoted a different section than what's printed in the agenda, if that matters, I don't know. Okay.
Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Wendy.
So, excuse me, both property owners are here, and the applicant is the City of Newberry because these properties were recently annexed back in January and February. They're 2 5-acre parcels near the Watermelon Pond, wildlife management area, and they were
Mr. Chair,
annexed
just
in.
before we go any further, I'm going to...
Swear in.
Actually, Judy will swear in the testimony provided by Wendy, and right before she does that, I'm going to ask if any of the commissioners have had any ex parte communications regarding this, so if we could poll each commissioner, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Coleman? None. Farnsworth?
No.
I have not either. And Commissioner Glanzer says no as well.
Thank you.
Appreciate the training wheels. Miss Judy?
Wendy Kinzer, Principal Planner for the City of Newberry. The application before you is brought to you by the City of Newberry, commercial. That both of these parcels are 5 acres each. Each one is 5 acres, and they're near the Watermelon Pond wildlife management area. And they were annexed into the city back in January, February, beginning of the year. And before the next steps, once they are annexed into the city, is to bring them into conformance with the city's land development regulations. And that includes the city's future land use plan and the zoning atlas. You heard these same items for the first public hearing on July 9th, and on July 2nd, the Planning and Zoning Board heard these items, and the future land use element, the change to that element, is before you now. That's what the comprehensive plan amendment, this application. The next application is your rezoning. So in this application, we've got the next steps, again, talking about future land use, changing the comprehensive plan. Note that this is a small-scale plan amendment. You have that information in your packet, and that affects properties that are under 10 acres. And it will become effective if you were to approve it 31 days after the approval date to allow time if there were any challenges, and that's just a requirement by Florida statute. The next process, if you were to approve the future land use map change, is to rezone the property into compliance with our code. This application before you now brings the agriculture zoning into conformance. So the county's agriculture, rural agriculture, future land use designation would be changed to the City of Newberry's agriculture designation. And the recommendation is from staff is that you approve the application, which is in ordinance 2018-11, and this is on your second reading, and the Planning and Zoning Board recommended approval as well.
Okay. And not to be redundant, but I assume there's no companion staff presentation since you're kind of both, right? Okay. All right. And Does anyone from the public wish to make any comment? Okay. I'll go ahead and close the public portion of the meeting, enter into the discussion with the dais. Anybody up on the dais have any questions, comments? Nothing? No worries. No worries. I hear you. Serious. All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
I make a motion
We had a
He
motion,
did.
which placed it on the floor.
Yes.
Well, wait, I do not have a
You did not have a motion? Okay. I thought we had a motion to begin.
I heard you say we did, so
But we can do it again, that's fine. It won't hurt. It won't hurt anything.
redundancy is the theme of
That's right.
the night.
That's exactly right.
Who would like to offer a motion?
A motion to approve the second reading. Sorry.
Reset. I'll entertain a motion at this time.
I make a motion to approve the second reading of this ordinance 2018-11.
Commissioner Glanzer has offered the motion. Commissioner Farnsworth has seconded the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Passes unanimously. Item C is the rezoning application for the same properties. Do I need to go through the whole reading again? Okay. If you just want to read the ordinance into the record.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, this is whenever you change the land use plan map, this is the companion ordinance now that goes back in and changes the zoning part of it. So this ordinance relates to the zoning portion of the procedure. This is ordinance number 2018-12, an ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida relating to the amendment of the official zoning atlas for the rezoning of less than 5% of the total land area of the city pursuant to an application by the City of Newberry, amending the official zoning atlas of the City of Newberry, land development regulations, providing for rezoning from Alachua County Agriculture A to City of Newberry Agriculture A on certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Newberry, Florida, which have been annexed thereto, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date. Appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2018-12 as read by title only. That'll place the measure on the floor.
Anybody like to offer a motion? Commissioner Coleman has offered the motion. Commissioner Farnsworth has seconded the motion.
And now I will ask again, is there any ex parte communication?
Commissioner Farnsworth? I have not either. None? Let the record reflect nobody did. And we don't need to swear her again, but Wendy, if you want to come up and offer your input on the application.
As our city attorney said, this is the companion application that will rezone the property to agriculture from the county's agriculture designation to the city's agriculture designation on both of the same properties owned by Mr. Abdi and Mr. and Mrs. Huss. The recommendation of staff is for approval of ordinance 2018-12 on second reading.
And Mr. Chair, what is going on, just for the record, and anybody that may be watching us online or on the cable, what happens is whenever we annex in property, we have to apply the zoning of the county until such time as we exercise our zoning authority over that property. So this is really not a change as far as the classification of the property as county agriculture to city agriculture, but now we can apply our rules with respect to our city agricultural zoning classification, and we do not have to apply the county rules as to county agriculturally zoned property. So that's basically what's going on here.
Very good. Appreciate the clarifications. Does anybody from the public wish to enter any comments? Okay. All right, at this time, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. We'll move back to the dais for any discussions or comments. Anything further, Commissioner Coleman? Commissioner Farnsworth? Commissioner Galanzer? I have none either. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it. The item passes unanimously. Welcome to Newberry. Thank you. You're welcome. Sorry for the redundancy and the administrative gymnastics here. Most of the agenda tonight is that, but appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Agenda items, Roman numeral 9, agenda item A, resolution 2018-23, amending the Charter Review Committee. Mr. Attorney, you want to go ahead and read that one?
I'm happy to do that. I talked with your manager, and he had one change that he would like to add to Section 3, which will be that the charter, to make it a little bit more expansive as to their duties, that the Charter Review Committee's scope of work is generally limited to proposing amendments to the charter that address the city manager and commission for it. So the idea is to add a little bit more leeway to the Charter Review Commission, but hopefully they can center in on the work that needs to be done. So that's the proposed amendment. And I'm going to go ahead and read this in its entirety, since it's a short resolution and we do have that change. This is a resolution 2018-23, a resolution of the City of Newberry, Florida, relating to the City Charter Review Committee, amending resolution 2018-20 that established a Charter Review Committee, appointing the mayor as the chairperson of that committee, repealing all resolutions in conflict, and providing an effective date. Whereas on June 11, 2018, the City Commission adopted resolution 2018-20 establishing a Charter Review Committee. And whereas the City Commission held a workshop on July 16, 2018 to discuss the Charter Review Commission. Whereas the City Commission desires to revise resolution 2018-20 to establish the mayor as the chairperson for the committee and define the scope of the committee. Now therefore be it resolved by the people of the City of Newberry, Florida, as follows. Section 1, the mayor shall be the chairperson of the Charter Review Committee, and at the first meeting of the Charter Review Committee, the committee shall elect a vice chair to preside over the committee in the absence of the chair. Section 2, the Charter Review Committee shall be composed of 8 citizens of the City of Newberry, including Mark Allen, Mark Clark, Naeem Erched, Bonnie Hauser, Jim Stainfield, Gail Watson, Jessica Baker, who shall be our committee member at large, Walt Boyer, who shall be the committee member alternate. Section 3, the Charter Review Committee's scope of the work is generally limited to the proposing amendments to the charter that address the city manager, city commission form of municipal government, and other inconsistent, redundant, or archaic provisions of the charter as further directed by the City Commission. Section 4, all remaining provisions of Resolution 2018-20 shall remain in full force and effect. Section 5, all resolutions or parts of resolution to the extent of the conflict are hereby repealed. Section 6, this resolution shall take effect immediately upon its adoption. Passed and adopted this 23rd day of July 2018. Signature for Honorable Jordan Marlowe, our mayor of the City of Newberry. Approved by myself as to form and legality, and attested by Judy S. Rice, our city clerk. The appropriate motion is to pass resolution 2018-23 as read by its entirety.
Commissioner Farnsworth's motion and Commissioner Coleman's second. And I'll just reiterate, in Section 3, we are adding the word, per how it was read in the motion that was offered, the Charter Review Committee's scope of work is generally limited to. So we're going to add in that leeway. So the spirit of the resolution still remains the same. But at this time, will there be any discussion from the dais? Ms. Clerk.
I think there was a typo. It's resolution 2018-23. I know the attorney.
I'm sorry, I have it as 23 in the backup, but the agenda has it as 12.
Right.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. No, we have it correct here in the agenda. You're saying it should be something else?
It's correct there, but on the resolution itself, in some places it has 20, in some places it has 20.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So I just want to
Let the record reflect there are a couple of areas where it does refer to this resolution. In the title, it's listed as 2018-23. In the body of the whereases is, it's listed as 2018-20. That's what you're speaking to, right?
What was the resolution number for the resolution that was passed on June 11, 2018? Judy, do you recollect it offhand?
I will look it up. June
I may have it in the backup from last meeting, right? Stand by.
Should be on last meeting, that's right.
Stand by.
Mr. Mayor, Resolution 2018-20 was the original resolution establishing the City Charter Review Committee.
Okay, so perhaps the title is actually incorrect. The body is correct.
I believe that the 2018-20 it's referring to is what it's amending that resolution that was
That's what I
originally
think.
adopted.
I think it's actually okay in that what I think this, well, your acting city managers has said it correctly, so I don't need to say it again. I think it's amending 2018-20, and I think that's what the intent of this resolution is. So I think it's saying that, if that helps.
Well, the boldface does say resolution, amending resolution 2018-20, which is carried through the body of the resolution 2018-23. So, does everybody agree that that's what it's supposed to be? Does the maker of the motion agrees? Yes. Seconder of the motion agrees? Yep. Okay. All right. So we're all squared? Good?
All square. All good.
Okay. Any further discussion from the dais on Resolution 2018-23? Seeing none, any from the public? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of the motion on the floor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. The ayes have it unanimously. Okay, let me catch up here on my end. Okay, Newberry Corners Phase 2 Final Plat Approval.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Glanzer?
I was involved as a broker in this development, and I would benefit from the decision you make tonight, so I need to recuse myself.
Okay. The attorney will get with you as far as the proper filing paperwork that you have to set up. But please let the record know, Commissioner Glanzer will be absent of this particular vote. I have this presented by Wendy. You ready? You ready? You have the floor.
All right. This is an application for a final plat, and for Newberry Corners Phase 2. It has been broken up into two phases, Phase A and B. And Phase A, but all the construction has been done, but Phase A has been, I can't even think what I'm talking about. Phase 2A, they each have 27 units, and they have already going to record, they're going to record Phase 2A first, and then 2B will be recorded the next 6 months. The application this next slide should show you. Can you switch to the next slide? It's not working. That shows you Phase 2 and A and 2B, and the code allows for all of that to divide it into phasing, but it was actually went through the process as Phase 2 itself and then broken into two phases. Your next slide shows you the Phase 2A, the plat with the 27 lots, and the next shows you Phase 2B. They have, the applicant has met all of the required infrastructure. It's all been completed, and all documentation of costs and outside agency permitting and final revisions to the plans have been completed. They also have, they're responsible for maintaining that public infrastructure, so they have, for 1 year after acceptance by the city, so they would file a 1-year maintenance surety in the amount of 10% of the certified costs, and that will be done And that way, if there were any issues, it would be drawn upon, but nothing's anticipated. They already are in the process of applying for Phase 3. And so the project is moving along. There is a one-year maintenance bond that's required, which will be approved by the city attorney prior to recording the plat. But staff is recommending approval, and if the applicants are here if you have other questions.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, from an informational standpoint, Rich Maltby in our office has already reviewed the bond and approved it, communicated that to Jamie Jones. And then also he's checked with the bonding company to ensure that it is in fact a bond that's been issued by the bonding company, so United Fire and Casualty. So all those things have been done by legal.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much, Wendy. Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve.
Commissioner Farnsworth's motion, Commissioner Coleman seconded the motion. Is there any further discussion from the dais? Any questions for staff or the applicant? Seeing none, any from the public? Seeing none, does the applicant wish to enter anything in the record? Getting the no sign? Fair enough. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Yes, 3-0. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Jay.
Go. Mr. Travis, you're on after-school lease agreement. Let me just get that pulled up. Kind of in the home stretch here. Fantastic. Go
Great.
ahead. You have the floor.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. I'm here before you tonight to request that you authorize the city manager to execute the lease agreement with Greenfield Preschool. First, I'll give you a little bit of an overview of our after-school and summer camp programs. Over the last 6 months, we've been digging into our programs, trying to figure out where we can improve sports programs, after-school, summer camp. And during that, we reached out to some professional organizations to see kind of what they do and maybe see if there was any interest in maybe a partnership. They bring a level of service that at this moment we probably can't provide. So give you a little overview of what our program currently is. After school, we run throughout the year. Any day that the children are in school, we're running an after-school program. We pick the children up from Oakview and the elementary school. We have approximately 60 registered participants. On an average day, we have around 50 that attend. Our fees are $50 per the week. We also do a daily rate, and we do a single day rate. So if the children are not in school for UF homecoming, work days, kind of those holidays, we'll offer a day camp, and those are $30. In addition to the after-school program, we also run a summer camp program. Those dates are whenever the children are not in school for summer. And we have 75 registered participants, that's this summer. And we offer a K through 4th rate. And then if you're part of the after-school program, we offer a discount. And then we have a weekly rate for our 5th through 8th graders, and also a daily rate. Daily rate is interesting to note because very few places do that. We're one of the few that offer, something on a daily basis. Staffing requirements, we go by, it depends on how many part-time employees we have. Currently we have 6, but we really go by hours. Just depends on how many staffers we actually need to fill those hours. Most of them are just out of high school, still in school, going to college, that kind of thing. So depends on their schedules. But right now we have around, we have 6 total. 2 for the summer camp, designated for summer camp, 3 for after school, and then we have a single bus driver. And it's approximately 5,000 hours total to run both programs per year. So when we reached out to some of the places, we started talking with Greenfield Preschool. They're located just outside of Newberry here on 26. We kind of talked about a lease with them to lease out a portion of the East Newberry Sports Complex, which would include the classroom, the gymnasium, and then they would have access to our playground area. And the terms of that agreement would be the school year, August 13th through the 31st of May. And that would not include summer camp at this time, just the after-school program. And the hours would be something similar to what we do. It'd be 1:30 to 6, Monday through Friday, and then early day is Wednesday, and they would come in at 12. The payment would be $3,500 plus tax per month. That number comes from the total revenues that we get from after school and summer camp, minus personnel and operations. And that comes from the hard costs associated with those. And again, our recommended action is to authorize the lease agreement, and I will answer any questions.
Does anyone from the dais want to offer a motion? We can put this on the floor for discussion.
So moved.
A second.
Commissioner Coleman has offered the motion. Commissioner Glanzer has seconded the motion. What questions do we have for Mr. Parker? I have a couple, but Mr. Farnsworth, you have the floor.
Thank you.
Sure.
Couple things. Why was this not put out for an RFP? I think it was just we went to one individual.
Well, we initially were going to do an invitation to negotiate. I reached out to legal, and since we're leasing a portion of the building, they're going to run an after-school program, but there's nothing that says that they have to run an after-school program. Yes, that's what they're going to do, but we're leasing out a portion of the building to them, as opposed to they're running a summer camp program for the city of Newberry. It's going to be Greenfield's summer camp program. They're just leasing our facility to run it.
What happens to the part-time staff that are working out there now?
The summer camp staff, that's what they were, summer camp, so that they would obviously finish out. And then the other part-time staff, she offered to bring them over to either work with them, or we would absorb them into our part-time hours for concessions, that sort of thing. It would limit them, but we really, the bus driver was only hired for summer as well, so it would only be 3.
Mr. Mayor, to the commissioner's point, this is a short-term lease. It's only 9 months. It is staff's intention during that 9 months to put together an invitation to negotiate to put it out to bid for the following year.
Okay. What happens in the summer if we don't have staff? They don't take over the summer program? Or do we have to hire staff at that time to cover that?
We would, but it would be our intent that between now and next summer, we would have the invitation out and we would have responses, and we'd be going in that direction.
And does this release the city of Newberry from any kind of liability as to injury or any other thing that might occur?
No, it does not release us from those kind of potential liabilities, but from an attorney's perspective, you are reducing your exposure by virtue of doing a license agreement like this. So I would concur in talking with the city manager. I think he wanted to make a couple of points. Dallas just made one, that this is very short term to give us time to see if we like this type of procedure, or if we want to go a different way, and issue an invitation to bid. So that's the first thing that he wanted to reiterate. Secondarily, there's a lot of potential liability associated with running a program like this, and there's additional requirements that we have to meet, and if we can outsource this and do it in a more efficient way, I think that's the intent of, we want to test that to see if that can go. So now, more to your point of your question, if you have somebody injured out there, sue one, sue them all, big and tall, it doesn't matter, you're all going to get in a lawsuit. But their insurance will be number one, will be number two, but we're all going to be in the lawsuit if something like that happens. So, you know, that will, there is one other provisions that I would like to add to the agreement, under 119 Public Records Law, that any records that they have, that they utilize in the running of their business, they have to maintain those records just like we do. And so I'd like to have that in every agreement. We'll add that one provision if the maker of the motion, the second, would, you can approve it subject to adding in a 119 provision. We'd like to do that.
Does the maker of the motion agree to that change? Seconder?
What, sorry, what? Second, I'm reading.
To add in a provision, to add in a provision for the
Oh,
119.
yes, I agree with that, absolutely.
That's all I have.
Okay. Commissioner Coleman? Commissioner Glanzer?
What got me distracted, I was just looking at the utilities. So they're only renting out a portion of it. How do you know how much of the utilities is going to be theirs and how much is Easton's on its own?
Well, we wouldn't because it's not metered that way, but when we consider our costs associated with the terms of the lease, it's incorporated in there.
Okay. Because it says the licensee shall, during the term of the tenancy, pay and keep current all the property taxes and utilities.
Yeah, I think the utilities portion, if I'm not mistaken, was taken out of there. Is it in your lease agreement?
It's in the headline, but maybe it's not
Oh,
in the
yes, it's
body.
taken out. That utilities should be,
Okay. So on number 8, we
struck.
need to take out the word utilities.
We'll make that change as well. Thank you for noticing that part.
Commissioner Glanzer, you finished? Okay. I had a couple questions I wrote down, Travis. What's going to happen with our bus?
the bus, our intention is to maintain it, get it repaired in case we need to use it. Greenfield asked to use it as well. Currently, the condition it's in needs to go to certified mechanic to get additional repairs. The plan is for us to retain the bus, though, and they have intentions of using vans to bus their participants.
Okay. Do they have the vans already?
They have a single van, and they're looking for a second.
Okay. And what is our backup plan if this falls through?
I mean, we could always take it over again. That would require hiring part-time staffing, and that would be our option.
And two other things. You had alluded to that they can offer a few things that we don't. Do you mind touching a couple of those bullet points?
I think they offer a different level of service. They have, their staff is professionally trained. They also hold all the requirements that we may not have to. As a municipality, there are some things we're exempt from, in which to run an organization, they have to have A, B, and C, whereas we don't necessarily have to have that. But I think that brings an extra level of service that we can have, a different curriculum that they definitely have. So there's a lot of highlights that they have that we currently aren't able to offer.
Okay. Any lowlights?
I spoke to them. One of my concerns was our current participants. I was concerned about what the cost might be from what they're paying now to what they're paying then. She mentioned that she would grandfather those participants in to their current rate.
Okay.
So that was one concern that was alleviated. Aside from that, I think it'll allow recreation staff to focus more on improving our other programs and then seeing where that takes us.
Okay. So they're kind of testing the waters with this just as much as we are?
They are. They offer that now, but they needed more space.
Okay.
And it's kind of a wait-and-see approach, see how many they can handle, that sort of thing.
Okay. And my last question, how are we going to be noticing parents in the effort of clarifying that this is Greenfield, not the city of Newberry delineations?
The first thing we would do is, if and when this is approved, we would have that communication with each parent as they came in to pick up their child. We would notice them via email, and then we would call all of our participants.
Okay, so you got that under.
We do, and then anyone that calls and asks for questions related to that, we would get them to the correct place.
Okay. So those first initial calls should be getting fielded by Greenfield and off your plate, right?
That's right.
So hopefully that potentially works if this goes forward. Do you have anything else?
I think that's all I
Staff,
got.
you're good. So anybody on the dais have any other questions? Commissioner Coleman?
You've done a great job putting this together. I'm behind this 100%.
Commissioner Farnsworth, anything else? Commissioner Glanzer? Okay. Okay. Anybody from the public have any questions about this endeavor? No? Commissioner, or Mr. Parker, I'll also add, I commend you for trying to push some of this city stuff out to the public and into private enterprise. I'm always in favor of those sorts of things, so that's good job.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, unanimous. I think that concludes the bulk of our agenda. We'll be moving on to comments.
Mr. Mayor?
Really great.
Am I? My bad. Excuse me. Fair enough. Agenda item 9D, Resolution 2018-28, preliminary millage rate for fiscal year 2018-19. Mr. Attorney, you want to read that in? And
Happy to do so, Mr. Chair. This is resolution number 2018-28, a resolution determining the proposed millage rate, the current year rollback rate, the date, time, and place for the first and second public budget hearings as required by law, authorizing the city manager to change the budget hearing dates if necessary, directing the Director of Finance and Administration to file said resolution with the property appraiser pursuant to the requirements of the Florida statutes and the rules and regulations of the Department of Revenue and the State of Florida, and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass Resolution 2018-28 as read by its title only.
would anybody like to offer a motion to get this on the floor before we hear from staff for presentations?
So moved.
Commissioner Coleman's offered a motion. Commissioner Farnsworth has seconded. Mr. Dallas Lee, is this your first presentation from the seat?
It might be. I believe it
Fair
might be.
enough. You have the floor, sir.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, this is an administrative item that we do every year. It sets the preliminary millage rate that'll be advertised on your trim notices. That'll be mailed out in the middle of August. Staff proposes a millage rate of 5.9999, which is the same millage rate as we currently have in the current year. So there is no change proposed to your millage rate. This is also the millage rate that was used in the budget that we presented to you last Wednesday. After this adoption, the commission would have the option to lower the millage rate in the September hearings. However, this is the highest millage rate you can adopt.
Fair enough. Anything further then?
I'm going to announce the date of the first public budget hearing will be Monday, September 10, 2018 at 7 p.m. here at the Newberry City Hall, 25440 West Newberry Road. And the second budget hearing to adopt the final millage rate and final budget will be Monday, September 24th, 2018, 7 p.m. here at the Newberry City Hall, same address that I just announced.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion from the dais? Commissioner Coleman?
None.
Mr. Farnsworth?
I'm pleased we're keeping the same rate.
Okay,
Good job.
thank you. Anyone from the public wish to offer any comments on the millage rate proposal? So again, this is the highest it'll be, which is the same as it was. We can go lower, but we cannot go higher. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it unanimously. Resolution 2018-28 millage rate passes at 5.999. Now we get to move to comments. Moving from my left to right, acting city manager.
Well, following in the real city manager's footsteps, I have 5 brief comments. There are a variety of public meetings coming up in the next 2 weeks, so I just want to make sure those are on everybody's calendar. And I'll start with what's happening first and move along. Tomorrow night from 4:30, starting at 4:30 with Public comment at 6:30. There is an FDOT meeting at the Alachua County Library Newberry branch. There's two. There's two of them. This one is on State Road 45 median pedestrian warning device and roadway warning device modifications. It seems to be where Newberry Lane intersects State Road 45. They're going to have a meeting about potential changes there, and we'll make sure that's on our Facebook and our website as well. On Thursday, there is another FDOT public information meeting starting at 4:30 with public comment at 6:30. There will be no presentation. That'll be at the Newberry Municipal Building right here next door to City Hall, and that is going to be on the State Road 26 twin pair project. And then on Tuesday, July 31st, there is a special City Commission meeting at 6 p.m. Related to the RFP for Champions Park. And then on Thursday, August 2nd at 6 p.m. is the third budget workshop, which is going to be the budget, bless you, the budgets for your utility enterprises. And then last but not least, the Florida League of Cities annual conference is being held on August 16th through 18th in Hollywood at the Diplomat Beach Resort. The last day to register for that is August 1st. So any of the commission who hasn't registered already would like to register, please let us know. I believe the hotel may be booked, but we can get you in a hotel near there, or we can try and get you in a hotel at that hotel. But please just send us an email and we'll get you registered for that. And again, that's August 16th through 18th at Diplomat in Hollywood. And that concludes my comments, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Dallas. Mr. Attorney?
None.
Madam Clerk?
Nothing, thank you. None
Commission-
for me.
I do not have any comments either. Commissioner
Me neither.
Farnsworth? Commissioner Coleman?
I was gonna spend my time with mine, let him. I have none.
Okay. Public? Ms. Peggy? Nothing? Mr. Watson? No? I'm begging, pleading. No? Nothing? Seeing no further comment, this meeting is adjourned.